chairs of the panel, distinguished guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. The 451st is the Ibadan of the Inaugural lecture series, which will be delivered this evening by Professor Alex Ugwumba in Echo of the Department of Zoology on behalf of the Faculty of Science. Our inaugural lecturer was born on 15th of September 1966 to the late Prof. Geometry, Ekrema, and Mrs. Abner Betty Ambayo, in present-day Akwa Ibom State. The young Adia attended Methodist Primary School at Papa Lagos and had secondary school education at the Ibadan Secondary School from 1970 till 1974, finishing the Division 1. Later that year, she presented the College of Zoology, now Polytechnic Calabar, for a A-level program, which she completed in 1976. Later that year, she gained admission into this style of study to study for a Bachelor of Science degree, Zoology degree, which she completed in 1979, graduating to second class honors division. She served in the National Youth Service Hospital as a biology and chemistry teacher at a private high school of Ondo State between August 1979 and July 1980. Thereafter, she had a Master of Science Zoology degree from the University of Lagos in 1973, against after on graduation, she worked as a research officer at the Nigerian Institute for Oceanography and Marine Research, Lagos from January 1980 to 1991, during which she also obtained a PhD degree in zoology from this university in 1990. She had the state as lecturer in one at the University of Agriculture and Capital in 1991. The then Dr. Ugwumba joined his activities of our Department of Zoology as a lecturer in one on 1st and 2nd January 1996. He was promoted to the grade of senior lecturer in the 1st of October 1999, leader of the 1st of October 2009, and professor of zoology in the 1st of October 2007. To date, she has provided academic publications to our credit, and she has successfully supervised 8 PhD theses, while 6 other research students and universities in their doctoral research programs. Within this department, Professor Ugwumba has served in various capacities, including the contributed to the service as software developer for the Faculty of Science 1998 to 2000, member of the University from 2003 to date. He served diligently and critically as the highly effective and efficient academic department of Zoology from 1st August 2011 till 31st July 2013. And as a substantive head of zoology from 1st August 2013 to 31st July 2017. She was a member of the committee that developed the curriculum for the Bachelor of Science Development Program in the Faculty of Science. She was the chairperson of the committee in the Department of Zoology that developed the Postgraduate Diploma Program in Applied Zoology. The program has convened during our stint as the head of the department. After this department, Professor Ugwumba has served as first president, Aquaculture Specialist in the Commonwealth West Africa Training Program, 1988, Fish Farmers Workshops, organized by the Nigerian Institute of Oceanography and Marine Research, Lagos, 1988 to 1991, Advanced Aquaculture Management Workshop, Aqua, 1996, organized by the Fishery Society of Nigeria, and the Government of Israel, 1996. Agricultural development programs in Osun and the Lost States from 1991 to 1996. She has been a member of the consultancy team for the Master of Agriculture, now Federal Master of Agriculture, for the National Agricultural Land Development Authority, NAGA project in Lagos State, 1993. She has been fisheries consultant with Shell Petroleum Development Company, Western State Body, from 2002 to 2003. Member of the NUC's Agriculture Team for programs in the Faculty of Science, Abia State University School in 2016. I'm a member of the team of experts from University of Ibadan for the review and development of the undergraduate and postgraduate curriculum biology program from University of Ugwumba and Ugwumba in 2017. She has been external examiner and external assessor to several universities in Nigeria. Professor Adia Ugwumba belongs to several professional bodies. She's a fellow Fisheries Society of Nigeria and also a fellow of the Zoological Society of Nigeria. She's a member of the World Aquaculture Society, member Pan-African Fish and Fisheries Association, PAFA, member Network of Tropical Agriculture Scientists, member Ecological Society of Nigeria, member the Nigerian Institute of Biology, and she's also a member of the Nigerian Association of Aquatic Sciences. She's the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Zoologist, the flagship journal of the Zoological Society of Nigeria, from 2010 to date. She won the National Universities Commission NUC Award of Supervisor of the Best Doctoral Thesis in Biological Sciences within the Nigerian University System in 2007 under the Nigerian University Doctoral Thesis Award Scheme, NUTAS, of the NUC. Professor Adia Ugwumba is married to Atrop, Professor Alex Ugwumba, also a zoologist, the former head of the Department of Zoology, and currently the chairman of the University Internal Accreditation and Global Ranking Committee. Their marriage is blessed with wonderful children and a daughter-in-law. I now call on Professor Adia Ugwumba to deliver an inaugural lecture titled Fish the Fish to Feed the People, the Experience of a Zoologist. Professor Ugwumba.
The Vice Chancellor, sir, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnership, Registrar Librarian, Provost of the College of Medicine, Dean of Faculty of Science, Dean of Postgraduate School, Deans of other faculties and of science, Directors of institutes, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am highly elated and honored to stand before this audience to deliver the 451st inaugural lecture and the 9th of the Department of Zoology of our great university on behalf of Faculty of Science. Inaugural lectures from the Department of Zoology started with Professor F.M. Ukoli with the title Order Among Parasites in 1975. Then Professor S.A. Toye, Biological Success 1980. Professor M. Wagu, The Third Face of the Coin, 1991. Professor S.O. Fagade, In the Belly of Our Waters, 1998. Professor Tony Okorie, Lady Mosquito, A Tribute to a Great General in Zoology, 2006. Professor A.T. Hassan, Environmental Biology and Adaptive Course in Zoology, University of Ibadan Experience, 2009. Professor O.A. Ugwumba, From the Surface Water to the Deep Sea, Fish, the Real Masters of the Aqua World, 2016. And lastly, Professor A.B. Odaibo, Parasites of Poverty and Poverty of Parasitism in 2017. This lecture is the third by a fish expert from the Department of Zoology. I am also honored to be the second female from the Department of Zoology to present an inaugural lecture. I became a professor in 2007, about 11 years ago. Yet, it is just my turn to present an inaugural lecture. This is not surprising, because it has been the pattern with many inaugural lecturers in Faculty of Science, since fewer slots are allocated to the faculty compared to the number of professors. In fact, but for the recent increase in the slots allocation to science in the past 3 to 5 years, I probably will not be standing before you today. I thank the Deans of Faculty of Science, both past and present, whose constant persuasions made the university to allocate more slots to Faculty of Science. My journey as a zoologist, fisheries and aquaculture scientist, as well as a lecturer. I was born and brought up by a mother who was a seamstress and a military officer father who was a very strict disciplinarian with family rules and regulations that should not be broken. I was one of the first school certificate holders and later the first graduate in my family. My father had big plans for me to become a great medical doctor after my first degree, and initially I agreed with him. Zoology has always been my passion. Even during my secondary and higher school days, I always enjoyed the animal aspects of biology, much more than the plant aspects. In 1976, when I got to the Department of Zoology as a direct entry student in a great university, the first and still the best, my interest in zoology soared. There were young lecturers in the department who made lecturing so interesting and appealing. I knew even before the end of my first session that I was going to become a lecturer and will never realize my father's dream of becoming a medical doctor. Rather, I will study zoology further until I obtain a PhD degree and become a lecturer. I shared this decision with my mother, but did not allow my father to know until my final year. However, my dream of becoming a lecturer was not going to be as soon as I wanted it. In my final year as an undergraduate student, I became interested in fisheries and aquaculture, but I was not assigned to hydrobiology and fisheries unit for my project or essay by the department. During the NYSC year, my interest in aquaculture heightened as I planned for postgraduate study. I really cannot remember why or how it all started. Maybe this has been in me all along, since the people of Oron, my hometown in Akwa Ibom State, are fisher folks. After my NYC, I was admitted to the Department of Zoology, University of Lagos, in 1980 for an MSc program to specialize in fisheries. This truly exposed me to fisheries for the first time, under the privileged supervision of Emeritus Professor Kola Kushemiju. On graduation from the MSc program, I was employed by Nigerian Institute for Oceanography and Marine Research, Lagos, as a research officer. There, I was given the opportunity to research into applied fisheries, and that was where I began to realize my interest in aquaculture. My PhD research was largely to obtain information on some culturable fish species, their food and feeding ecology for sustainable pisciculture. After about 8 years as a research officer, I still yearned of becoming a lecturer. I did not realize this dream until 1991, when Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, appointed me as lecturer grade 1 in the Department of Aquaculture and Fisheries Management. I was so happy, and this made the sometimes daily trips from Ibadan to Abeokuta not as difficult and stressful as they were, because I was enjoying my job. Eventually, in 1996, I was employed into the Department of Zoology of a great university and transferred my service. Here I am today, a professor of zoology, specialized in fisheries and aquaculture. I couldn't have asked for more. I give to God Almighty all the glory and adoration for dreams fulfilled. My interest in fish food stems from the fact that once all is okay with food as well as feeding, every other aspect of life will fall into place. Like other organisms, when you feed fish well, they will respire, grow, and reproduce well, and they will be healthy and be sustained, provided environmental conditions are suitable. Most of my outstanding contributions have been in the area of fish nutrition. What is zoology? Fish, fishery, and aquaculture. Simply put, zoology is the study of animals. However, there is nothing simple in the study of zoology. It is a science with many disciplines, such as animal physiology, ecology and environmental biology, hydrobiology, fisheries and aquaculture, to mention a few, all with sub-disciplines. Indeed, zoology is the bedrock of many other fields of study, such as medicine, veterinary medicine, pharmacy, pharmacology, agriculture. Without zoology, these fields of studies will be incomplete. The zoologist is therefore strategic to our understanding of the lives of animals. In biology, fish is a completely aquatic animal with backbone, a vertebrate, that has gills throughout its life and has limbs usually in form of fins, such as seen in tilapias. However, in fisheries, fish is used as a collective term to include both fin fishes and shellfishes. The shellfishes are invertebrates like shrimps. According to FAO, a fishery is typically defined in terms of the, I quote, people involved, species or type of fish, area of water or seabed, method of fishing, class of boats and purpose of the activities, or a combination of the foregoing features, end of quote. A fishery is therefore all-encompassing, including the study of fish, capture, culture, fishing methods and gears, processing and preservation, as well as marketing, fisher folks, and also management for sustainability of the fishery. So aquaculture is part of fishery. By definition, aquaculture is the culture of fish and other aquatic organisms in controlled or manipulated environments, such that yield is above what will normally be obtained under natural conditions. Capture fisheries deals with exploitation of fish in the wild, that is, the natural environment, without stocking of the seeds. These are the fry and fingerlings. My major areas of research are fisheries and aquaculture. The aquatic environment being a sink for waste and pollutants triggered my interest in the pollution of many water bodies in western and eastern Nigeria. Recently, I've been interested in the biodiversity of herpetofauna, that is amphibians and reptiles, a neglected group in Nigeria, and impacts of anthropogenic activities on them. This lecture will be presented to cover the following areas: the biology and nutrition of fish, aquaculture, environmental pollution, biodiversity of fishes and epitofauna, using molecular techniques, books and chapter in book. Contributions to the biology of fishes. The manuscript, Ugwumba 1992, and the food and feeding ecology of the African bony tongue, Heterotis niloticus, revealed size-specific variations in its feeding habits. The adults were mainly predatory, while the juveniles and sub-adults were mainly plankton feeders. In the study on tilapias, the black-jawed tilapia, Sarotherodon malenotheron, an erstwhile euryhaline species, was found to be completely established in a completely freshwater environment, Oba Reservoir, University of Ibadan. The adults of the species were found to be phytophagous, as well as detritus feeders, while the fry were omnivorous, having a mixed diet of plant and animal materials, Ugwumba and DBC 1992. These studies reveal vital information for the culture of these fishes. For instance, copepos will be suitable live food for the culture of juveniles of the bony tongue. Live copepos, aquatic insect larvae, and phytoplankton such as diatoms will be suitable for the culture of juvenile tilapias. Studies carried out by my first PhD student, now Dr. Eunice Idowu, a senior lecturer in Ado-Ekiti State University, Ado-Ekiti, on the biology of another culturable fish species, the African pike, Hepsetus odo, revealed the adults as strategic voracious predators, mainly on fish, in Ado-Ekiti Reservoir, Idowu and Ugwumba, 2006. The reticulate night fish, Papyrocranus alpha, is an ornamental fish as juveniles and food fish as adults. Our studies reveal the species to be a first-level carnivore in Lekki Lagoon, Lagos, Oluwale et al., 2012. The juveniles and adults were specialists. The juveniles and sub-adults were specialists, while the adults were generalists in their feeding. Estimated lifespan of the species is 9 years, yet maximum age encountered during our study was 3 years. The species has been overexploited in the lagoon, with exploitation rate close to the collapse value. Oluwale and Ugwumba, 2018. Studies on the biology of the food fish, African sicklefish Drepain africana, inhabiting marine waters in the Niger Delta, reveals that the species was also carnivorous. The study also revealed an unidentified eel-like fish species, which has hitherto not been reported in the Nigerian waters as food of Drepain. This confirms earlier report that there are species yet unknown in the Nigerian marine waters. Ugwumba, 2017. Estimated exploitation ratio was fairly high, indicating vulnerability of Drepain africana to overexploitation in the Niger Delta. Fakayode and Ugwumba, 2018. In our taxonomic studies on the using chirological technique, we delineated 6 species of the mud catfish clarias from inland water bodies in western Nigeria. Their chromosome structure and number were reported for the first time and published in Ujo et al., 2011. Contributions to nutrition of fishes. In our publication on the carbohydrates in digestive tracts of tilapias, catfishes, and the African bony tongue, we reported the following. 1. Distribution of carbohydrates such as amylase and maltase throughout the alimentary canal and the stomach. From the stomach to various regions of the intestine of tilapias, mud catfish, and African bony tongue. In the silver catfish, Chrysichthys nigrogitatus, carbohydrates were detected mostly in the stomach. Ugwumba, 1989-1993, Ugwumba et al., 1998. The silver catfishes are carnivorous or predatory in their feeding, with little or no plant food in their diet, hence with less carbohydrates activities, while the tilapias are phytophagous and herbivorous, consuming a lot of plant food, hence with high carbohydrates activities. The African bony tongue and the mud catfish, though carnivorous, are also omnivorous in their feeding, with a mixed diet of animal and plant food, hence with prominent carbohydrates activities. When we studied the nutrient composition and absorption of food in the ingested food along the gut of the fish from the wild, we found that carbohydrate was the major nutrient in the diet of tilapias and the most absorbed into the body, while protein was the highest nutrient in the diet of the bony tongue and also the most absorbed into the body. Ugwumba, 1996, 2001, and 2002. The implications of these findings for aquaculture is that tilapias require more carbohydrate in their diets, while catfishes and bony tongue will require more protein in their diets. Aquaculture. Shortage in the supply of protein of animal origin coupled with the relative cheaper cost of fish compared to other common animal protein from livestock, has resulted in high demand for fish in Nigeria. Over the years, the high demand for fish has been on the increase, with supply never up to demand. Projected fish demand in Nigeria is currently about 2 million tons per annum. Thank you. Data on domestic fish production in the country from FAO 2017 showed that it hovers around 0.6 to 1 million ton per annum in the last 10 years. Nigeria needs a further increase of about 1 million ton per annum in domestic fish production to meet its demand. In an attempt to bridge the gap between domestic fish production and demand, there has been a lot of fish importation to make up for this deficit. Though importation can increase supply tremendously, it involves heavy costs in foreign exchange. Therefore, importation of fish is not the solution. Returns from captured fisheries is currently declining, while returns from aquaculture has been steadily on the increase. Therefore, it is generally agreed that aquaculture is the major key to bridge the wide gap between domestic fish demand and production in Nigeria. Nigeria is richly blessed with vast areas of perennial fresh and brackish water swamps, covering a total area of about 1.8 million hectares, mostly unexploited and suitable for aquaculture. Such lands, relatively unsuitable for other forms of agriculture, can be utilized for the culture of fish. The Vice Chancellor, sir. If up to 25 to 30% of these swamps suitable for aquaculture in Nigeria is used for fish production, aquaculture alone can meet fish demand with excess for export. Ugwumba and Ugwumba, 2003. It is therefore evident that the resources suitable for aquaculture in Nigeria are grossly unexploited. Two major constraints hindering development of aquaculture in Nigeria are inadequate feeds or feeding and inadequate fish seeds for stocking. Food or feeding of fish has always been one of the critical aspects of any fish farming venture, because feeding of fish contributes about 60% or more to the running cost of fish production. Any effort that will reduce cost of feeding without adversely affecting growth and production of fish during culture is most welcomed, since this will not only sustain production but also increase the profit margin for the farmer. Hence, the crux of this area of my research, an inescapable idea for the title of this lecture: Feed the Fish to Feed the People. Fish meal has been known to be the best source of animal protein ingredient in fish feeds. However, fish meal is expensive because of the demand for direct human consumption and for the production of feed in animal husbandry. Since fish meal is expensive, there is a justified necessity to search for suitable alternatives to substitute fish meal in fish feeds. The use of cheap feeds without reduction in effectiveness is desirable in reducing overhead costs. Hence, the use of non-conventional feed resources, coded NCFRS. These are not the usual ingredients used in feed production, and they are usually not utilized for direct human consumption. In addition, they are cheap, at little or virtually no cost of production, and they are available. Their use is of advantage, particularly to the resource-poor local fish farmer. NCFRS are both of animal and plant origin, and some of them that are of animal origin include maggots, earthworms, and tadpoles. Contributions to aquaculture. Our studies on utilization of NCFRS started with the use of maggots as fish food directly and also indirectly as feed ingredients to replace fish meal in fish feeds. Maggots easily grow on dung once the dung is exposed to flies. We found maggots to be suitable replacement for fish meal in fish diets. Findings in Ugwumba and Abumeye 1998, confirmed in Ugwumba et al. 2001, revealed that live maggots were best as supplementary food for mud catfish fingerlings. As published in Akinwande et al. 2002 and later in Izeodu et al. 2015, we observed that though dried maggot meal can be used to replace fish meal completely in fish feeds, its use as replacement for fish meal was best at 50 to 75% in the diets of mud catfish and tilapia fingerlings. Our next challenge was how to obtain the maggots in large quantity. The designed and fabricated aluminum mobile maggotry was designed at reducing human contact with maggots as well as enhancing collection of maggots. The aluminum mobile migratory has 3 chambers: culture, cleaning, and collection chambers. Production of maggots from the aluminum mobile migratory was not as good as from plastic, aluminum, and wooden boxes, which were also experimented on. Since collection of maggots from the boxes was a problem, we devised an easy way of doing this using a collection tray placed beneath the boxes. My second PhD student, Dr. Amos Olukayode Shogbeson, now an associate professor at Modibo Adama University of Technology, Yola, was the first of my students that worked extensively on the production and use of NCFRs in aquafeeds. His study was on 4 NCFRs, namely semi-arid zone earthworm, termite, garden snail, and the toad as feed ingredients in the diets of mud catfish, Heterobranchus longiphilis. The Vice Chancellor, sir. This project made outstanding contributions to knowledge and won the award of Best Doctoral Thesis in Biological Sciences in the Nigerian University System in 2007 under the National University Doctoral Thesis Award Scheme of the National Universities Commission. And I won the award of Supervisor of Best Doctoral Thesis in Biological Sciences in the Nigerian University System in 2007. I think Dr. Shogbeson is in the audience somewhere. The meals of these 4 animals studied were found to be suitable replacement for fish meal in mud catfish diets with good amounts of protein and essential amino acids. Growth and production of garden snail and earthworm were found to be better on cellulose than soil substrate. The best growth and nutrient utilization were recorded in those fingerlings fed a diet in which 25% of the fish meal was replaced with snail meal compared to higher inclusion levels, and complete replacement, Shogbeson and Ugwumba, 2006. The best level of replacement of fish meal with the earthworm meal in the fish diet was 25 to 50%, Shogbeson et al., 2007 A and B. In the studies on tadpoles in outdoor concrete tanks, we observed that the tadpoles are better produced on a mixed diet of live zooplankton and artificial feed of 40% protein, rather than live zooplankton or artificial feed alone, Shogbeson and Ugwumba, 2007. When tadpole meal is used to replace fish meal in the diet of mud catfish, 50% replacement is recommended for better growth and feed utilization, good digestibility of feed, and high cost benefits of using tadpole meal in fish production, Shogbeson et al., 2007. Furthermore, the skinned is better than unskinned tadpole because of the poisonous substances such as alkaloids in the skin, Shogbeson et al., 2007, Shogbeson 2014. In the study on the culture and utilization of 4 lumbreed earthworms as feed ingredients in mud catfish diet, we confirmed that earthworm is best produced from cellulose substrate compared to soil substrate or a mixture of cellulose and soil substrate. Production of worms was best in plastic boxes compared to aluminum and wooden boxes, Monebi and Ugwumba, 2013-2015A. Optimal level of replacement of fish meal varied with worm species, Monebi and Ugwumba, 2013, 2015 A and B, Bakare and Ugwumba, 2016. Our studies on aquaculture were not limited to the use of feeds, but also on production of fingerlings. Fish seeds can be sought from the wild, or they can be produced artificially through induction of gonadal development and spawning of fish. In developing countries like Nigeria, where technological development in aquaculture is relatively low, fish seeds are still collected largely from the wild to stock fish farms. It is known that collection of fish seeds from the wild is never sufficient, and that such collections can be contaminated with seeds of undesired species. Furthermore, collection from the wild can introduce pathogens in infected fish into the farms. Therefore, this is not a suitable option for provision of fish seeds. A more reliable and better option to produce fish seeds is through artificial reproduction. In our contribution to the artificial reproduction of the mud catfish Clarus garipinus, we observed that induction of ovulation and spawning using ovaprene, a gonadotropin-releasing hormone with a dopamine antagonist known as Limpe method, was effective on a single knockout dose of intravascular injection, Ugwumba et al., 1998. Contributions to aquatic pollution. Over the years, anthropogenic activities in Nigeria have led to a tremendous increase in the discharge of a wide variety of pollutants into the environment, causing undesirable effects. Most of my studies on pollution have been on the aquatic environment. Water and edible aquatic organisms like fish, when consumed from contaminated water bodies, eventually endanger the health of humans. It becomes imperative to study and provide vital information, not only on the health status of the aquatic environment, but also to caution on suitability and safety of the resources for human consumption. A study on the physicochemical characteristics and plankton of Oba Reservoir, University of Ibadan, by Ugwumba and Ugwumba, 1993, revealed the dominance and abundance of the pollution-tolerant blue-green algae, microcystis, in the phytoplankton community, indicating possible pollution of the reservoir during the period of our study. We confirmed this in another study published by Inaugural et al., 2013. In another study in Ele Reservoir, Ibadan, the pollution-tolerant gastropod melanoides was also dominant and abundant in the benthic community. So also was another pollution-tolerant aquatic insect larvae, indicating possible pollution stress in the reservoir. Idowu and Ugwumba, 2005. In Lower Ogun River at Ishasi, Ogun State, Yakub and Ugwumba, 2009, studied the macro invertebrate fauna therein and reported dominance of 3 species of the Macrobrachum genera in the benthic community. However, insects were the most diverse, including pollution-sensitive and clean water species. The findings indicated relatively stress-free conditions in the Isashi area of Lower Ogun River during the period of our study. In Majidun River, Ikorodu, Lagos, the study on composition and abundance of macrobenthic invertebrates by Senewa and Ugwumba, 2010, revealed that their abundance and diversity were significantly low. This is not surprising, since this river is characterized by diverse anthropogenic activities, including sand mining and refuse dumps, which destroy the habitat of many organisms. In Egbe Reservoir, Egbe Ikiti, Edward and Ugwumba, 2011, observed that the reservoir may be tending towards organic pollution due to the high abundance of pollution indicating invertebrates and low abundance of indicators of clean water. Hence, the need for necessary actions to prevent further deterioration of the reservoir. Ogunpa River is a highly perturbed aquatic habitat located in Ibadan metropolis and used as a dump site for domestic waste, including raw sewage. A study of the physicochemical characteristics and benthic macroinvertebrates of the river at Bodija axis revealed high biological oxygen demand and abundance of pollution-tolerant aquatic insects. This confirmed earlier studies that the river is under pollution stress. The Vice Chancellor, sir. These studies have shown that many of our inland water bodies are contaminated and polluted, and therefore calls for urgent intervention by our regulatory agencies to redeem these water bodies and protect the resources therein. Our team went a step further to study the toxicological effects of pollution on fish in water bodies that were under pollution stress. Investigation on the toxicological effects of pollution on tilapias in Oba Reservoir, University of Ibadan, published in Adeogun et al., 2016, revealed endocrine disruption with abnormalities like intersects in the tilapia studied. The Vice Chancellor, sir. This study further confirms that Oba Reservoir is under pollution stress. I hereby join others to highlight on the danger that the water and food fish from it may pose to human health and call for adequate management of the resources in Oba Reservoir. Biodiversity of fishes and hepatofauna in Nigeria using molecular technique. Distribution of organisms is not even on Earth. And Nigeria's rainforest is one of the biodiversity hotspots in the world. Deforestation is a major problem that has adversely affected biodiversity in tropical areas like Nigeria. The traditional methods of identification by morphological, morphometric, and meristic features have become unsatisfactory in delineation of species, particularly for closely related ones, because sometimes they lead to erroneous identification. Recently, molecular approaches have received much attention in systematics. Molecular techniques can be used for unknown specimens, part of specimens like tissues. One of such molecular approaches is DNA barcoding, a taxonomic method in which genetic markers in the DNA of the organism are used for its identification. Unlike the traditional taxonomic methods, DNA barcoding can be used by non-specialists for quick identification. Contributions to biodiversity of fishes and hepatofauna in Nigeria. In collaboration with our local and foreign colleagues, our team carried out research on DNA barcoding of economically important freshwater fishes from north-central Nigeria and hepatofauna in some national parks in Nigeria. The study uncovered cryptic diversity of fishes in the study area, molecular data of 136 freshwater fishes belonging to 53 species from 6 freshwater bodies in north-central Nigeria were compared. Unknown fish samples collected from fishermen were accurately identified using DNA barcode. Cryptic lineage diversity within the butterfish, shieldbay intermediates were uncovered. In addition, within the population of shieldbay intermediates, we identified at least 3 distinct lineages spanning through West, East, and Central Africa, which may be due to adaptive responses to changing environmental conditions. Therefore, DNA barcoding could assist in resolving issues of ambiguousness in identification of morphologically similar species. Our team has initiated another study on diversity and management of genetic resources of freshwater fishes in West Africa to cover Nigeria, Cameroon, and the Republic of Benin. Herpetology is the study of amphibians and reptiles. It is a neglected area of study in Nigeria, and so there is scanty or no current record on hepatofauna in Nigeria. Amphibians and reptiles serve as bioindicators of environmental health. Our studies reveal newly recorded species of both reptiles and amphibians and many undescribed species in Nigeria. In collaboration with our research partners, Professor Jing Che of Comning Institute of Zoology of Chinese Academy of Sciences, China, and Professor Robert Murphy of Center for Biodiversity and Conservation Biology, Royal Ontario Museum, Canada. I co-supervised a PhD project titled, I quote, Biodiversity Assessment, DNA, Barcoding, and Genetic Analysis of Hepatofauna of Gashaki-Gumti National Park, Nigeria, West Africa, end of quote. This project was carried out by an alumnus of our department, Dr. Lutana Nneji, who was admitted into the Comning Institute of Zoology under the Chinese government scholarship for his PhD program. 20 species of amphibians belonging to 9 families and 26 species of reptiles belonging to 8 families were encountered in the park. Different evolutionary lineages of the red-headed rock or rainbow agama were observed in the park. Furthermore, from the study, the amphibians, fishberg's clawed frog, Xenopus fishbergi, and running frog, Cassina cassinoides, were recorded for the first time in Nigeria. Our study from analysis of mitochondrial DNA infers the matrilineal relationships of all the currently recognized Nigerian species of agama within the West African radiation. The results of our genealogical analysis added a new matrilineal lineage from northeastern Nigeria to the West African radiation. Our study is the first document of the presence of Agama parafricana from the montane savanna region of Gashaki-Gumti National Park, northeastern Nigeria. We added this species to the hepatofauna of Nigeria and expanded the species distribution in West Africa. We therefore recommended an update of the International Union on Conservation of Nature's Red List on geographical range of Agama parafricana. The Vice Chancellor, sir. We observed that majority of the hepatofauna were closely associated with forest habitats that were threatened by human activities, particularly forest degradation. This therefore calls for urgent intervention to effectively protect these forest regions. Contributions through books and chapter in book. Over the years, books on the biology and ecology of our local fish species have been a challenge in teaching of fisheries courses in Nigerian universities. This was a major factor that prompted us to write the pioneering book titled Food and Feeding Ecology of Fishes in Nigeria by Ugwumba and Ugwumba, 2007. The use of well-known examples of fishes in Nigeria to explain the food and feeding ecology of fishes makes it easy for our students to understand and also for application by researchers and fish farmers. I also co-authored a chapter titled Poverty Alleviation Through Aquaculture by Ugwumba and Ugwumba, 2012 in the book titled Poverty Alleviation from Biodiversity Management that provided information and guides to fish production through aquaculture, particularly for the resource-poor fish farmer. Conclusions and recommendations. The Vice Chancellor, sir. I have taken us through my experiences and contributions. I have shown the need for increase in domestic fish production to meet the demand of our ever-increasing human population in Nigeria. Aquaculture is the fisheries sector that is steadily growing, and harnessing production from this sector can meet the demand, thus providing more fish to feed the people. I have also shown my contributions to aquaculture, which will harness aquaculture development in Nigeria through solving some of the challenges or constraints, that is, inadequate feeds and fingerling production facing the aquaculture sector in Nigeria. I also showed that if the country is to achieve the fish for all target by 2020, aquaculture is the key. To achieve this, adequate feeding of fish is inevitable. Hence, again, to feed the people, we need to feed the fish. There is therefore the need to take effective actions on the following: utilization of more suitable land and swamps for aquaculture. Incentives can be provided, particularly to resource-poor fish farmers, such as easy access to funds from government, NGOs, to mention a few, for establishment of fish farms, provision of adequate feeds at reduced cost. The use of non-conventional feed ingredients can replace fish meal at suitable inclusion levels, and this will reduce cost of feeds or feeding and eventually fish production. Most of these non-conventional feed ingredients can be produced at little or no cost. Enhance the artificial production of fish seeds for stocking. Training of fishermen through regular workshops on ways to minimize running costs of their farms and enhance their profit margin. If these are achieved, domestic fish production will even exceed demand, and there will be enough fish to feed the people of Nigeria. The monitoring agencies, such as Federal Department of Fisheries and the Nigerian Navy, should be adequately empowered to effectively police our waters against illegal fishing and illegal exploitation of our resources. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, many water bodies in the country are polluted, and this poses a great danger not only to the resident organisms, but even more importantly, to human life. Resources from them are therefore not safe for human consumption. It is therefore important for the following actions to be taken. Monitoring agencies such as National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency should be empowered adequately for more efficient performance to ensure that our water bodies and resources therein are protected from pollution. Resources including water and fishes from polluted water bodies should be checked and analyzed regularly to ensure that they are safe for human consumption. Wastes from industries and domestic sources should be treated before disposal. Regulations protecting the environment and its resources should be enforced effectively. Molecular techniques such as DNA barcoding is a vital tool in taxonomy, particularly in identification of similar species and for revealing cryptic lineages. The 3 new species of hepatofauna recorded for the first time in Nigeria extends their distribution in the West African sub-region. The Vice Chancellor, sir, it is unfortunate that even reserve areas like our parks are still prone to environmental degradation, such as deforestation and other anthropogenic activities like poaching, all threatening and endangering the existence of natural resources. Our regulations to protect our parks and other reserve areas should be effectively implemented and the resources monitored to avoid extinction of species. The Vice Chancellor, sir, in the quest to make the environment safe for sustainability of our resources, there is also the need to adequately equip laboratories in tertiary institutions and research institutes to meet the demands of trends in current research towards increase in food production and also solving the many problems facing the environment and depleting resources. Acknowledgements. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, first and foremost, I give all the glory and adoration to God Almighty, who brought me this far and blessed me with a wonderful family, a wonderful career, and a wonderful life. I will not have achieved anything but for His mercy and grace upon me and my family. So I thank God immensely for guiding me as I realized my dreams. I am very grateful to my late father, Afang Major Etimekere Namambaeko, who believed so much in the education of the girl child that he encouraged all his children to be educated as far as possible. I wish he's here to witness my inaugural lecture. I am equally grateful to my mother, Mrs. Afyong Etimambaeko, a princess who is a gentle and humble lady. She's the pillar of my first family and the best mother on earth. I thank her for her many prayers that protected my siblings and I through life up till now. I wish I could be like her. I pray that God will continue to protect and keep her for as long as He wants her to be with us. Amen. In my journey to becoming who I am today, I met a lot of lecturers that mentored and guided me. I am deeply grateful to all my lecturers at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. I thank Professor Fabian Osuji, especially, who was my teacher and project supervisor at the BSc level in a great university. He showed so much interest in my career and made sure that a major error in my BSc result was corrected even after my graduation. I thank Emeritus Professor Kola Kushimiju, one of our forefathers of fisheries, my teacher and project supervisor at the MSc level in University of Lagos, and with whom I took my first journey into the world of fisheries. I am deeply grateful to late Professor Abiodun A. Adebusi, my teacher and PhD supervisor. He was so considerate that even when he was away on leave, he spent his money on courier services to return drafts of my thesis to me. He also taught me how to be thorough in supervision of research. May his gentle soul continue to rest in peace. Amen. I sincerely appreciate my teachers and senior colleagues who laid a solid foundation that has sustained the quintessential Ibadan School of Zoology, namely Dr. Margaret Hill, late Professors FMA Okoli, S.A. Toye, Professor Makunwagu, Professor W.W.D. Moda, Professor S.O. Fagade, the Grand Master of Fishery Science, Dr. H. Sidiham, Professor Tonye Okore, Professor A.T. Hassan, and Professor A.B. Odaibo. I especially thank our team in Hydrobiology and Fisheries Research Unit, headed by Professor O.A. Ugwumba, namely Dr. Aina Adeogun Ayo, Dr. Adedolapo Ayo Ade, Drs. A.A. Shoumi and F.V. Oluwale, my other colleagues as well as non-academic staff of our department for their contributions to the peaceful milieu for academic activities to excel in the department. I especially thank our head of department, Professor A.A. Bakari, for his leadership, continuous support, concern, and understanding in running the department. I especially thank the Vice Chancellor, Professor A.I. Olayinka, for giving more slots to Faculty of Science for inaugural lectures. Hence, I'm standing before this audience today, delivering my lecture. I thank our great University of Ibadan, the first and still the best, for giving me the opportunity to serve in various capacities, the most recent being the immediate past head of the Department of Zoology. I thank members of the Faculty of Science, particularly the Dean, Professor F.O. Ogundari, for assigning a slot for me to present this inaugural lecture. I am grateful to Professors D.A. Okori, I.O. Fashidi, and L.A. Hussein, in whose laboratories I carried out some chemical and statistical analysis during my PhD program, and also for their continued support thereafter. I acknowledge Professor P.C. Onyawa for his support, and Professor Patricia Onocha for guiding me with some chemical analysis during my PhD program. I thank late Mr. John Oyorokwa, who assisted me with chemicals, and late Mr. Tutu Ibrahim, who guided me with some laboratory methodologies during my PhD program. I also thank other faculty members, including Professors P.O. Yelaron, J.O. Alero, and Dr. U.N. Bassi, and others in the university, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Yinka Aderito, Professors Femi and Bola Ogumbi, Ayo Oluleye, Wole Abaton, to mention a few, for their support and friendship. I acknowledge my colleagues in University of Lagos, Professors Olubumi Otubanjo, Adiropo Akinsoju, Obinna Chukwu, and Joseph Saliu, Dr. Shola Oshibono, Bamidele Akinsoya, to mention a few. Those in Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, namely Professor Nnamdi Eziri, Shegun Alegbeleye, Sami Sanwo-Obo, Austin Adebayo, Tunde and Fumi Idowu, and Mukaila Kadiri, to mention a few, for their support and friendship. I also thank Professor Chedu Mafiana for his friendship. I especially thank Professor Julius A. Okoji, the Aare Agbe of Egbaland, and the Amota Deshe of Owuland, for giving me the opportunity to realize my dream of becoming a lecturer, mentoring me in my early years as a lecturer, and also for his special friendship and that of his lovely wife, Christiana Okoji, the Erelu Aare Agbe of Egbaland. I acknowledge my former colleagues and friends in Nigerian Institute for Oceanography and Marine Research, Lagos, namely Dr. Pat Anyanwu, Pasi Obatolu, Jide Ayinla, and Augustina Anyanwu, to mention a few. I thank my parish priest, Father Ezekiel Owueye, Assistant Parish Priest, Father Paul Akintayo, members of St. Rita's Society, St. Vincent de Paul Society, Catholic Women Organization of Our Lady Seat of Wisdom Parish, University of Ibadan, for their prayers and support. I am grateful to my collaborators in Comning Institute of Zoology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Comning, China, namely Professor Jing Che, Fang Yan, Ming Sheng Pen, and also Dr. Adeola Adeniji. Professor Robert Murphy of Center for Biodiversity and Conservation Biology, Royal Ontario Museum, Toronto, Canada, for our studies on DNA barcoding of fishes and herpetofauna. I acknowledge my students, both past and present, particularly the doctoral students, namely Dr. Eunice Idowu, A.O. Shogbeson, Josephine Edward, A.S. Yakub, I.K. Senowo, Evi Oluwale, Amonike Bakare, and L.M. Neji. Mr. Femi Fakayode, Boye Oyediran, Ama Okarafo, Mrs. Stella Okanu, and Alaja Kadeja Ajijola, as well as all my MSc and BSc project students. All their efforts contributed significantly to the success story of today. I am deeply grateful to my siblings, Pastor Belinda Ekerenam, Barrister Joy Nkubre and her husband, Engineer Nkubre, Mrs. Rita Emmanuel, Mrs. Mary Abri, Mrs. Odumaya Gmpa and her husband, Architect Ime Mpa, and all their children for their constant love and prayers. I acknowledge my late brother, ACP Osung Ekpo, our family with before his departure. I pray that his soul will continue to rest in peace with our Lord. Amen. I thank the people of my hometown, Oron, Akwa Ibom State, and the community of Oron Development Union Ibadan branch, particularly the women's wing, for their support and love. I thank the people of Arochukwu who adopted me through marriage. They welcomed and embraced me with great love. I acknowledge my special friends in Arochukwu, Professor Solomon Umeham and his lovely wife, Barrister Priska Umeham, Mr. and Mrs. Solomon Okoro, and members of the Omenuko fraternity, to mention a few, who have made my stay in Arochukwu very interesting. I thank members of Merihani Old Girls Association, Mahoga Worldwide, where love is enough, particularly the Lagos branch, for their love and friendship. It gladdens my heart to specially thank members of my family that are closest to my heart. My sister, Dr. Geraldine Fashina, an associate professor of Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, Port Harcourt, is like a daughter. I am deeply grateful to her for helping me raise my children during my many years of traveling from Ibadan to work in Lagos and later at Delta. I left my children in her care, and I was not worried because of my trust in her. I pray that God will continue to reward her abundantly. My son, Dr. Alex Ugwumba, and my daughter, Bella Uchechi Ugwumba, a town planner, civil servant, and doctoral student of tourism, were patient with me through all the years I was away from them, studying hard work. I thank God for the new addition to my family, my daughter-in-law, Dr. Mario Ugwumba. I pray that God's blessing will never depart from them. With a lot of joy in my heart, I deeply appreciate Professor Obi Alex. I pray that God will continue to shower his blessings on you, my darling husband. And that we will age gracefully together in Jesus' name. Finally, I thank you, sir, Mr. Vice Chancellor, and this great audience for honoring me with your listening presence in my inaugural lecture. I pray that God will take you all back safely to your various destinations as we depart from here in Jesus' name. Amen.
Hello. Camera.
Please don't break our academics. The academic position is chief for. Those are the policies.
Welcome,